It's one of the most legendary stories in modern business, right? How an undisputed giant, a true cultural icon, can be brought to its knees by a tiny, disruptive newcomer. We're talking, of course, about the story of Netflix versus Blockbuster. And this isn't some hypothetical business school case study. It's the real, almost unbelievable story of Blockbuster Video. So to really get how a 9,000 store empire could just vanish, we've got to go back. Back to a time when they weren't just a company, they were literally a weekend ritual.
Okay, picture this. It's the 90s, early 2000s. Blockbuster wasn't just a store you ran into. No, it was a destination. They were this absolute monster in the home entertainment world. And that bright blue and yellow sign, it was iconic. Everybody knew it.
Just try to wrap your head around the sheer scale of their operation. At their peak, back in 2004, Blockbuster had over 9,000 stores all over the world. They had 60,000 people working for them. They were, and this is no exaggeration, absolutely everywhere. And that slogan wasn't just some clever marketing line. It was a fact. It was a cultural ritual. You remember, right? The whole experience of walking down those aisles, hunting for that new release, grabbing some popcorn and candy. For millions of families, that was the start of the weekend. They didn't just have a piece of the market, they were the market. But here's the crazy part. The very thing that made them so incredibly profitable was also their biggest weakness. I'm talking about late fees. These things were bringing in a staggering $800 million a year. But man, were they a massive point of frustration for customers. And all that frustration, well, it created a tiny opening for someone new. See, that frustration didn't just go away. It actually sparked an idea. An idea in the mind of one very annoyed customer. And that little idea, it was about to change everything. So, when Netflix finally popped up in 1997, Blockbuster was already a 12-year-old behemoth. Let's be clear, this was not a battle of equals. This was David versus Goliath. A tiny little startup going up against a global giant. And the whole revolution, you can trace it back to this one moment. The story goes that Reed Hastings, one of the guys who co-founded Netflix, got slapped with a $40 late fee for Apollo 13. Can you imagine? That personal annoyance sparked a simple question. Hey, isn't there a better way to rent movies? A way, without these ridiculous penalties? So he and Mark Randolph launched Netflix, and their model was completely different. It was simple, it was convenient, and this is the key. It directly tackled the #1 complaint people had about Blockbuster. The secret sauce was a simple monthly subscription, and, you guessed it, absolutely no late fees. Ever. Now, their path to success was anything but a straight line. Far from it. And in the year 2000, the story hits this incredibly dramatic turning point. We're talking about a single meeting that would end up defining the future for both of these companies. See, the dot-com crash had just hit the tech world like a ton of bricks, and Netflix was bleeding money. They were seriously struggling just to stay afloat. So they saw a partnership with Blockbuster as the perfect solution. It was supposed to be their lifesaver. And you have to understand, the power imbalance here was just staggering. Blockbuster was raking in 4.5 times billion dollars in revenue. Meanwhile, Netflix, they were a tiny $5 million operation. From where Blockbuster was sitting, Netflix wasn't even a blip on the radar. They were a rounding error. So, Reed Hastings gets on a plane, flies to Dallas, and he makes them an offer. He basically says, hey, buy Netflix from us for $50 million. The idea was pretty simple, really. Netflix would just become Blockbuster's online brand. We'll run the whole internet side of things for you. In this is the moment history just completely pivots on its axis. According to Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph, the CEO of Blockbuster, a guy named John Antioco, was struggling not to laugh them out of the room. He didn't just say no, he basically scoffed at the idea. It was a historic, monumental miscalculation, just fueled by pure arrogance. What an incredible turning point, right? If you're enjoying digging into these moments that literally define businesses, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Money Lessons by History. But hey, don't go anywhere. The story's not over. The next part reveals some crucial lessons that every single entrepreneur needs to hear. So you're going to want to stick around till the end. So, after getting pretty much laughed out of that boardroom, Netflix had no choice but to go it alone. And that's exactly what they did. They went all in, betting on a future that Blockbuster either couldn't see or just flat out refused to. The funny thing is, their long-term vision was hidden in a plain sight,
right there in the company's name. Net for internet, and Flix for movies. The whole DVD by mail thing, that was just phase one. It was always just a stepping stone to their real goal, delivering movies directly over the internet.
From that point on, the two companies took completely different paths. Blockbuster was all about playing defense. They were trying to protect their physical stores at all costs, and yeah, they eventually launched a copycat online service, but it was way too little, way too late. Netflix, on the other hand, they went on offense. They poured $40 million into developing streaming and launched it in 2007, and that just changed the entire game. And wow, after 2007, the results were just dramatic. As Netflix's streaming service started to take off, their subscriber count just exploded. At the exact same time, Blockbuster's empire of stores began a catastrophic nosedive. The market had spoken, and it had clearly chosen a winner.
Think about this. Just 1 decade after laughing at that $50 million offer, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. The giant had fallen. The era of the Friday night trip to the video store, it was officially over. So, what's the takeaway from this epic corporate collapse? Well, this story is packed with powerful lessons that are still super relevant for any business, even today.
Okay, let's break it down. First lesson, adapt or disappear. Blockbuster got so trapped by its own success that it just couldn't imagine a different way of doing things. Second, solve a real customer problem. People hated late fees, and Netflix fixed that. It's that simple. Third, and this is a big one, don't underestimate the underdog. Blockbuster's arrogance was fatal. And finally, vision is way more valuable than size. Netflix was tiny, but they had a crystal clear vision of the future, while the giant had no direction at all.
There's this great quote from Bill Gates that just perfectly sums up this whole story. Netflix didn't just build a better video store. No, they saw where the entire world of entertainment was going, and they made sure to get there first. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. At what point do you think Blockbuster could have saved itself? Was there one single move they could have made differently that would have changed everything? I really want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Money Lessons by History, where we turn these stories into powerful lessons for today.